Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Combat Sports YouTube channel. We continue with our IMMAF series that we have going on. Today we've got Team Finland Sani Brannfors. Sani, it's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're very happy to have you on. So you've actually recently just come off a win, a TKO round 3 win, I believe, on February 10th. So you're certainly staying active and getting after it. Talk to us a little bit about that experience. How was that fighting over the weekend?
Well, yeah, that was my first fight this year. It was just I'm pretty busy with competing. I love competing, so I don't have many breaks from that. But I did have I think 3 months from competing in MMA, and I really felt in that fight that I really grew as a fighter. Like I had a step up from the last competitions where I did learn from it was a big experience. Last World Champions is in where was it? Albania.
In Albania, yeah.
Albania, yeah. So this fight was, I think it was an amazing experience to see my progress as a fighter, but in general, it just grew. I really felt like I'm growing more and more.
And are you somebody that, I mean, kind of taking a look at your record, you stay pretty active in between the bigger competitions that you have? Is that down to you want to train and then compete to so to speak, get that feedback loop? Or is it just you just love competing? Like, how come you decide to stay so active?
I just love competing, and I think as an amateur, even though the level is just getting higher and higher, even especially in those tournaments, but I think it's the best way to evolve as a fighter. And then switching to pro, I think I have so much experience. I think I'm getting better. Like I thought I was good at competing 4 months ago, and right now really seeing like I can be better at competing, at handling the stress, the environment, all the different things you have to handle. And I think that comes from experience, and that comes from competing a lot.
And then speaking of that, I mean, you just mentioned to me off camera that you've got the European ADCCs coming up in Croatia this weekend. So how much are you looking forward to that, and what are you expecting to get out of that tournament?
Well, right now I'm really into I had a really good fight on MMA. I'm getting better at stand up, so I'm kind of in the hype of MMA. So I'm right now kind of trying to switch it up to loving grappling as well. But I had a good run on the ADCC Europeans last year, so I think I have a good chance of winning them as well. And I love ADCC more than no-gi, so I think I love the show there more, so I'm excited to compete there again. And I know it's going to be a hard, I can have, if you win, I think you have to have at least 5 fights. So I'm excited about the grind you need to do to get the gold.
Yeah, you're obviously really motivated by putting the work in. How do you manage that with your training and recovery schedule, right? Obviously you had a fight on the 10th, and then you've got ADCC coming up this week and this weekend. How do you manage that from a training perspective? Do you have to periodize really smartly, or do you just kind of listen to your body a little bit more?
Well, that thing I'm kind of getting to learn that. I didn't listen to my body. Like last year I had the World Championships, then I had the no-gi World Championships, and then I had the ADCC national, and I was done. I didn't feel good. I didn't like competing. I hate all the stuff about competing. So right now I'm trying to get more in tune with listening really to my body. And sometimes you need to take a break from competing when you're not getting that much from it. But right now I feel like I had a good win. Learn from that, right? Trying to get to see the mistakes and all that, but having that with a good mindset, not being too hard on myself, but not getting too high up there. right
Mm-hmm.
now I think I'm on a good like mental state there, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. Another thing is that I'm getting better at competing, so it's not like I'm taking too much pressure every time. It's not like I don't care about whether I lose or not, but I'm learning to, you know, I'm learning to deal with the pressure and all that differently, and it's not taking that much energy from me, and that helps me with competing still pretty actively.
That's fascinating. And it sounds like you put a lot of effort into kind of knowing yourself and learning and understanding how you're reacting under certain pressures and certain circumstances. Is there, where have you kind of learned that skill from? Is that something you've always had throughout your life? You've always been quite thoughtful, or is it something that has evolved over time as you've gone through this journey?
I think it has evolved, but I did have a kind of like natural way of loving competition. I remember that I had my first IMMAF World Championships in Abu Dhabi,
Mm-hmm.
and I met where that was actually where I met with Yannick Antima, and she was like impressed on the way that I was just excited about all of that. Like I was like excited to go and compete, and I think that came naturally. Like I didn't care about the pressure and all that. I was just like, I'm doing MMA and everyone's watching me. That's so cool, and I'm getting a gold medal afterwards. Like there's nothing better. And that was like an experience where I learned that I'm pretty good at handling this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there are always also I like to reflect on things I could do better. Like for example, the last World Championships that I had, I kind of did like that. I kind of like to push away the stress. Like I'm not feeling any stress. I'm not feeling pressure, and that's something that also saw that I could always learn to be better on those competition environments. Like afterwards I saw that I was really stressed. I was like getting anxiety and all that, but I didn't want to like I was like pushing it away. So I think like even though I was pretty good at it in the beginning, but I think I always learn from being better, and it doesn't mean that you are a bad athlete if you are stressing or if you are
Mm-hmm.
really nervous. It's just how you handle that nerve. And that's another step for me to acknowledge that I can be stressed. I can be really nervous, feel like, insecure and all that. But the difference is just to how you can handle it and how can you be better in next competition.
As part of being a human being and also being an athlete as
Yeah.
well, right? Balancing the two at such a high level. I mean, that's a really fascinating insight. I could honestly spend hours of listening and talking to you about that in itself. You mentioned there obviously the reflection on the last IMMAF tournament. We made it to the semi-finals. How did you evaluate that fight? Kind of looking back on it. You fought Millie Erickson before that actually to a split decision. So how did you feel? Reflecting on that fight particularly.
Yeah, I think that was right now looking back to it, I think that was a great fight to happen for me. Like the stuff I learned in that fight, and there was so many technical things that I could like be better at next time, and also mental things like I think the mental aspect of in fighting is so important, and you have to pay attention to it. But I really got like both the best of both in that
Mm-hmm.
fight to see what's good and what's bad, and it was like and also seeing the level of IMFs, like it was a close fight. Like we went back and forth. I won one round, she won one round, and then she won by TKO in the last one. So I also learned that I have to be careful of acknowledging that there are judges there to watching me, that I cannot like, even though I didn't feel I was in danger, I have to acknowledge that there's someone that can, break it for me. So
Mm-hmm.
that was also a good learning experience. But even though it felt bad, right now it's like I have gone through the bad parts, but watching the fight and all that happens is makes me happy to know that if you get to the medals or if you win, you really won the best. Like it's the level is not just, you're not going there to play around. And I think that makes you more confident going to pro, that the competition level is not easy anymore. It's not,
And
you don't get easy fights anymore,
yeah,
especially if you're
absolutely.
going through the days, you know.
And one thing, I mean, what I really liked in watching the build up was in the way you do grapple. You grapple to attack, right? It's you know, you grapple to attack, you grapple to try and get those submissions, and you're constantly looking for things. I was talking to some of the guys at IMMAF, and I said, look, you don't leave the cage without taking someone's neck or their arm with you, right? It tends to be your style. And in particular, one that really stood out was that quarterfinal against Boston. I believe it was, where you put in a really slick transition into a guillotine choke. So how does that feel like? Because that's high level in the moment. I mean, I train jiu-jitsu. I know how hard it is, right, to be able to do those transitions in. And I guess a couple of things I want to kind of find out is, in that moment, how did you have the what's the word, the peace of mind to be able to realize, okay, this is not working, I'll go to this quickly. And then also, was that kind of something that was trained, or is that just your natural creativity that comes out?
That's a great question, because actually I didn't have time to warm up before the fight. There was like, I was like, you know, maybe doing this and, you know, just talking to my coach, and they were like 5 minutes, and I just grabbed my stuff, my flag, and then we run to the cage. And there I was like a bit of like off in the end, but as soon as I grappled, everything comes to me naturally. Like I was grappling, and then listened to my coaches that they were shouting that pull her out of the fence so she cannot stand up, but everything else just comes to me. Like I'm feeling kind of like I think I had a anaconda or Dars, but
Yeah,
I
it was
felt like
does.
it's not good. But I felt kind of that her neck was open, so I was like, I'm gonna try the triangle one, and it worked. And it's just, I think grappling comes to me from of course training a lot, those transitions, that if this doesn't work you go this, but it's based on how I'm feeling the stuff. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just like, I can feel that this submission is not going to work, but I'm feeling that something is open, so I can
Mm.
go and transition to that.
Yeah, and then above all, it looks really good as well. And how satisfying is that to get a finish like that, as opposed to, like you said, a grindy kind of decision? Like, what's the difference in terms of how it feels for you?
I love always finishing. I'm not really a fan of going to decision.
Hmm.
That one thing that I did learn from, if you force too much submission, it could be like you should one thing that I learned from the Millify, I was having like a errancy or a choke,
Hmm.
but I was just thinking about I have to finish, but I didn't think about punches or getting points. I was just thinking about finishing. Right now I'm trying to like get around to getting the finishes through having points, like getting damage and all that. Sometimes it's like I have these slick submissions where I get the submission right away, but sometimes you need to have that mindset to that you will find a way to a submission, but you don't have to force it.
Mm. Oh, very interesting. And then, like you say, obviously the grappling is more of your go-to, and I think you strike really well as well. There was a couple of instances in some of the fights where you set up some of your grappling entries off of the jab or some feints and things like that. How do you go about, in terms of a workload perspective, rounding out those skills? Like, what percentage are you putting into this versus that, or does it depend on what you have coming up? Right, like you talked about doing MMA, then back into ADCC. Right, how do you go about rounding out your skills?
Or in training
Yeah.
in general, well, I like to think about like how do you say, like to do the stuff on like mixing them up, not doing
Mm.
boxing today and then grappling jiu-jitsu this day. Like try to mix it up as well as I can, because when you're like striking and then you do a takedown or a takedown like feint, that
Mm-hmm.
mixes up everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I try to look at my training that way, that always mixing up something with that, so it makes it easier for me, that there's not only right now I'm striking, right now I'm wrestling, mixing it up. I love that way of training. So of course I'm having like Monday I might have just grappling and I'm doing grappling stuff, but the way I love training is to always trying to mix it up and making it harder for the opponent to know where I'm going. If I'm trying to grapple with you or if I'm doing punches and all that.
So you could almost say it's mixed martial arts, right? You are literally
Yeah,
training
yeah.
mixed martial arts rather than separating them all out. That's amazing. And what are your aspirations for this year? Obviously, we've got the European Championships coming up in Belgrade pretty soon. I mean, that's obviously something you're keen to get involved with. But what are your aspirations for 2024 and the European Championship?
Well, I'm excited for the Europeans. I've never been there, but I think the European Championships level is pretty high. So I'm excited to have some high level fights and of course win. And the biggest events I'm looking forward to is the Europeans and the World Championships on, was it October?
Yeah, much later this
Yeah,
year. I think it's Uzbekistan, right? Later this year.
yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to them. I think it's going to be a big event. And of course, I might have the ADCC World Championships on summer if I win the trials. So I'm having a big schedule, but I'm doing MMA full time. So, I'm focusing on MMA purely. So I'm nothing, just focusing on training hard and learning all the time, of course. And I might have a document. I might have like maybe to like build up to document to the World Championships, and maybe they can have a film crew there. I'm excited for that. I think it's good to show the people what's going on there. Like a week of World Championships, that's so different to have a day. You have 4 fights every day and filming that and all the emotion, bad and good. I'm excited for that if that's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean that must
I'm
be
feeling
super exciting.
will be, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super exciting to see it from that behind the scenes point as
Yeah.
well, and watch you kind of go through everything, because it's a whirlwind, especially when you don't know who you're fighting in the next round. Maybe you have an idea, and it's day to day. You're making weight every day as well. I mean, that was something else I wanted to touch on with the Millie Erickson fight. Did you feel like there was a bit of a size difference there? Like, would you maybe look at going down at some point, maybe when you get to the pro level, or are you kind of happy at the weight you're at the moment?
Yeah, pro level, I think going down is I'm planning on that. I'm not that tall. So I will be pretty sure at bantamweight, and I'm feeling I think the bantamweight at amateur is good. I don't feel like it's a good choice to cut weight at amateurs because I'm competing every month maybe. So cutting that weight all the time, I will be sick maybe
Yeah,
half of the time.
yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm
And you
right
never.
now at this level, at amateur, I think this way is good. But then at pro, I think flyweight, and flyweight is pretty exciting when you look at the pro leagues.
Flyweight is very exciting, very very exciting. It's
Yeah.
one of the most exciting female divisions, and down to the strawweight as well. I would totally agree, and it's something, especially in the European scene, it's building a lot. Obviously, on your resume is a lot of different kind of promotions, a couple with the cage promotion, which I believe is a Finnish promotion. And on there, I've noticed as well. There's like, and as you go through the world as well, there's a few rematches. Is it a bit weird, kind of fighting rematches, like, or is it just kind of like, okay, this is the name, I'm going to get my job done?
Well, for in the World Championships, I was kind of bummed to have rematches. I was like, I would like to have a new style, a new way. But of course, the Millie rematch was good because she was so good, and I could see so many progress in myself. But right now, I had the last 3 fights have been rematches. So I'm like, I would like to have a new one.
hmm Yeah, I can imagine. And talk a little bit also about, just the last couple of things for me, just to talk about the MMA scene in Finland at the moment. Like, how is it looking? How has it been building? Is it really an area that's really coming back up again? You've had a lot of success in IMMAF before, and now with yourself, there's starting to be a few more come through.
Um, I think is growing a lot. I think stuff we need to work on is to do more teamwork. Like I live like 6 hours away from the like Helsinki, and I think I'm getting really good training here. The best of Finland are in Helsinki, so just doing more teamwork, I think that will help us a lot. And right now we have a bit of a change in teams. Like a lot of people that competed a lot on IMMAFs transition to pro. So right now we have a kind of a new team right now, but I'm excited to see what's coming. But it's growing, like MMA in general is growing a lot in Finland, so that should be just good news.
Yeah, very good news, and hopefully a lot more talent coming through the Finnish pool there, so to speak, through IMMAF and into the pros as well. Last thing for me, what do you like to get up to outside of the cage when you're not training or competing? What do you like to spend your time doing?
That I get that question a lot actually, but I never know what to answer because I'm like I just do MMA.
Yeah.
But actually I'm pretty like I don't have that much time outside of MMA, but I like animals. I'm spending time with my dog. Not really not that exciting stuff, but actually I do travel a lot. So you know, every time I have a lot like free time, I like to go and explore the city I'm at, like, and but not really that interesting.
And
I
where
might have to get an interesting hobby. So every time I get asked that, I'm like, well, yeah, I like to play chess or something.
well, you play physical chess, right? You literally play physical chess, so you've already
Well,
got that
yeah.
box ticked, right? So don't worry. In terms of traveling, where stands out? Where's kind of the favorite city you've been to so far?
Well, I actually lived in Mexico when I was younger. It was my first language, so I love that city or that country. I was in Cancun, like in a vacation. I think that's my favorite place to travel to. I've been there like I think 7 years ago. But that's a big place on my heart, like Mexico and all the people and food, language.
Yeah, the food's going to be difficult, especially if you're trying to keep on an athlete schedule, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Do you have any maybe shout out your team or any sponsors or anything like that? I'll throw the final word over to you, Sani.
Well, shout out to all my sponsors, and I hope that I will have a big team on the Europeans. And good luck to everyone also.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's very humble of you. No, you're very welcome. Sani Brannfors, has been an absolute pleasure. If you can check out the ADCC this weekend, she'll be competing there. If not, the European Championships with IMMAF, and hopefully later on the Worlds as well. And obviously in the summer, we'll get through the trials. We'll get to the Worlds for ADCC as well. So very exciting year for Team Finland. Sani Brannfors, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Bye.